Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Udit Methila, and it's great to have with you episode 14 of Designing for the Desert, a webinar series presented by Green Grid Designs, where we continue our exploration into how sustainable design principles are transforming architecture and lifestyle across the Gulf. In our last episode, we explored the Mosque of 2050, where we had a glimpse into how technology and spirituality can merge to create adaptive and inclusive, sustainable faith spaces. Today, we shift our focus to the world of interior design and architectural expression, where aesthetics meet environmental consciousness. Our guest today, Benazir Qureshi, is the founder of BQ Designs with a decade of experience designing interiors and architecture that respond to both people and place. Her work bridges Mumbai and Dubai, but at its heart lies a refined philosophy: desert minimalism. In this session, minimalism in Dubai, sustainable luxury redefined, Benazir explores how design is moving from excess to elegance, where true luxury is about restraint, mindfulness, and harmony with nature. We look at how sustainable materials, passive design strategies, and cultural authenticity are shaping Dubai's next design renaissance, one that values timelessness over trend and purpose over opulence. So let's begin this journey into desert minimalism, a design language that captures Dubai's evolving identity as a city that is both global and grounded in the desert's enduring wisdom. Over to you, Benazir.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Benazir. You have mentioned my intro. Do I need to give my intro? Or that's okay.
That's all right.
Okay. So starting with the PPT. So you said, I'm the founder of BQ Designs, and having a experience of over more than 10 years, and we try to design in such a way where elegance meets sustainability. So I'll show you what exactly sustainable design means and how we can implement in our day-to-day designs. Desert minimalism in Dubai. Okay, so it has the essence of the desert minimalism. It has the essence of desert minimalism. What essence of desert minimalism means? It transforms simplicity into sophistications. It replaces excess with balance, using light and tone to create elegance rooted in authenticity. It meets the design which breathes quietly, powerfully, endlessly redefined. Again, essence of desert minimalism is further bifurcated into three parts: harmony with nature, purposeful simplicity, and sustainable integration. So, let me tell you what is harmony with nature. Harmony with nature welcomes light and shade, air and silence. Each structure aligns with its surroundings, conserving energy while honoring the land it raises from, creating beauty that coexists with balance. Purposeful simplicity. Purposeful simplicity is stripping away the unnecessary, and what remains gains the meaning. Desert minimalism celebrates restraints, finding luxury in spaces, proportion, and the quiet confidence of thoughtful design. Sustainable integration. Sustainable integration is the essence that usually using local materials, passive cooling, and renewable energy merge seamlessly into the form and function. The result is timeless design that endures with minimal impact and maximum grace. So, why Dubai? Why Dubai? Dubai is the perfect stage for this moment. Its landscapes vision, and innovation culture creates a unique intersection of tradition and technology, where sustainable designs become a symbol of progress and refined living. So, what are the core principles of sustainable architecture? Core principle of sustainable architecture basically has stands on the four foundation: passive cooling, local sourcing, solar energy, and water efficiency. These transform the desert challenges into elegant opportunities, shaping architecture that is resilient, responsible, and radiant. So all these four foundations are very important and are very core principle for sustainable architecture. Next is market growth and ROI. Eco luxury is outperforming conventions. Dubai's green projects have grown by over 60% since 2015, with, with returns projected to climb from 8% to 14% by 2035. Sustainably now defines value, offering beauty that rewards both the planet and the investor. So people are investing more into sustainable projects because it is the future of 2035. Shift in consumer values. Why it is shifted from a jazzy design to a minimalist and a sustainable design. Luxury has evolved. Today's clients see sustainability as status, seeking spaces that reflect awareness and authenticity. Desert minimalism answers this desire, blending blending with refinement with responsibility in every fine and texture. Design language and materiality. The design palette mirrored the desert itself. Raw stone, warm timber, fluid glass, and soft sand plaster. Each material tells a different story of resilience and grace, creating space that age beautifully and belong naturally. Sustainability impact matrix. So, what are the matrix behind sustainability? Every detail delivers measurable change. 40% less carbon, 30% less water, 25% more efficiency, energy efficiency. These numbers aren't just metric. They prove that beauty and performance can share the same foundation. So let us see the case study of the Desert Oasis Villa. The Desert Oasis Villa embody this vision: 95% occupancy and enduring appeal. They prove that harmony with climate and landscape doesn't limit design. It elevates it, transforming sustainability into desire. Economic and cultural synergy. Desert minimalism bridges heritage and innovation. Emirati tradition, wind towers, courtyards, shades find new expressions through modern craftsmanship. It is a cultural dialogue i- that celebrates identity while inviting the future. Investors appeal. For investors, this is the architecture with purpose. High returns, stable policies, and growing global demand create a market value where sustainability drives success. It's not just profitable, it's enduring progressive. So, what is the client experience and lifestyle? These spaces evoke calm and connection. Natural light, air, and proportion create sanctuaries that feels grounded and elevated. Desert minimalism turns life into an experience of mindfulness and quiet luxury. What is the vision for the future? From sand to sanctuary, Dubai leads a new era of sustainable luxury. Desert minimalism unites innovation, culture, and nature, proving that progress can be as graceful as it is responsible. So that was it about my PPT. Mr. Udit, what sustainable design and architecture means in Dubai and in the coming 2035, 2040, how it will be capturing the whole UAE, where people will be more into designing less and creating more spaces.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. I think what really stood out beautifully was how minimalism was framed not just as an aesthetic choice, but also as a overall mindset where one needs to be clear and balanced, and also the design needs to be intentional with the idea of what it is that we are trying to achieve overall in each of the spaces that one creates and one inhabits.
Right,
You've touched on something very deeply relevant today, that sustainability and minimalism are not two separate goals, but rather both of these are two sides of the same idea. While we design, we should also design with purpose and design with restraint. So let's take this conversation a little further through our question and answer round, where we can unpack how minimalism can adapt to different cultures, climates, and also the client expectations, and what it really means to design meaningfully in a world where there is a lot of excess, there's a lot of waste, there's a lot of additional unnecessary things that we add into most of our design. So how can we transition and change things to
right,
move into a more truly minimalist and thoughtful space?
right.
So I'll begin with one of my first questions. Um, so, my first question is local identity and craft are recurring themes in your work. So, how can designers in the region bring cultural authenticity to these spaces without over decorating?
Yeah. So designers can bring cultural authenticity into minimalist spaces by focusing more on craft, material, and form rather than decoration. Using locally made textile, ceramics, woodwork, or stonework allows culture to be expressed through how something is made, not how much is added. Natural finishes, handcraft details carry identity quietly. So the space feels rooted without becoming ornamental.
Interesting. Okay, so if you had to sum up the future of design in one phrase, what does sustainable luxury mean to you in the context of Dubai and Dubai's future next chapter?
So sustainable luxury means quiet quality. Spaces made to last using fewer, better, locally rooted material that honor place and people.
All right. So you're saying that we need to honor both what people want as well as
Correct.
what it is that the place brings to these environments that we're designing
Correct.
and we create.
So using less of materials and more of open spaces and locally procured material, which does both which benefits both the client and the environment. We can start using that, which will favor
Right.
into desert.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the end of life of these materials also comes into question. Think about what happens when the building is going to go into renovation, or what do we do with the materials that are removed when we refurbish these places, and how they can go back safely into the environment. Wonderful. So, Benazir, you described desert minimalism as more than just an aesthetic, just not just something that is about how it
Correct.
looks. almost like a state of mind where when one is in that space, even the mind is decluttered. And so, can you share a little bit about that philosophy? And how did that philosophy first begin to shape your work, or when did you get into this idea of a different way of designing?
So, see, desert minimalism is the next future, like the next coming thing. People are more into sustainable products and sustainable work. So, when I noticed how the desert's quiet and open landscape influences how we live, the environmental thought to value essentials, light, natural, material, open spaces, and calm tones. It became less about decoration and more about creating space that feels grounded, simple, and connected to the surroundings. So that made me more inquisitive and, like, to get into the designs and make it more minimalism and sustainable.
Right. Okay. So it was kind of like a exploration of
Right.
this process, and through different projects and different designs that you tried out, you kind of evolved this over time. And today, that's something that you believe in as your core philosophy to designing. All right. So when we talk about Dubai, luxury is one of the main factors that any client or anyone who's looking to buy or redesign a space is always thinking about luxury as the base or the most important thing.
Correct.
So when we talk about luxury in Dubai, usually what comes to mind is a lot of excess, a lot of abundance, a lot of things, and so when we talk about any space that is a luxury space, then we normally imagine a lot of different colors, textures, different artifacts, different lights, many different kinds of things inside that space, and that's what then makes it luxury.
Correct.
So, how do you redefine this idea of luxury to something which is now based in simplicity and restraint, and something that's really simple and clean, and with not too many things in that space? So how does one redefine that? How does the redefinition of that space happen?
So, for me, we can redefine luxury by shifting the focus from quantity to quality. Instead of using access, we can emphasize on the craftsmanship, natural materials, light, and spaces. Luxury actually becomes the feeling of calm, clarity, and comfort. Spaces that can breathe, not overwhelm. It's about thoughtful detail and meaningful experience rather than showing more. So the more less we make, the more it speaks. Nowadays, people are actually, the term luxury is actually less. The more less we design, the more it speaks out. And the more clutter we make, the more it becomes the basic. So less is more. That defines luxury.
Interesting, very interesting. So I think that's something, now that people have so many spaces that are filled with a lot of different things, uh, when they're looking for the next new thing,
Yeah,
maybe that's one way that we can transition towards this idea of less is more, and how, with small, simple things like just texture or shadow play, or, certain things that are just intrinsic to the kind of finishes we use,
correct.
rather than adding in a lot of more elements to
Exactly.
decorate the space. So I think that's a great idea, and I hope that Dubai is able to move in that direction over the
Yeah.
next few years, where this becomes kind of like the new
And
normal or
people
the
are
new.
actually evolving in, slowly and steadily, they are evolving into this change. Many
Hmm.
of my clients are telling me, hey, ma'am, we want less, which looks luxury. So people are adapting this habit slowly because they don't want
Wonderful.
fully cluttered house, fully cluttered with all the elements on different walls. They want less but yet it should stand out in elegance.
Wonderful. That's very, very comforting to know that this is already happening and people are understanding the value of having
Correct.
clean, clear spaces and, how that affects one's mindset and overall well-being as well. So wonderful. I think that's something that gives us hope for the future.
Yeah.
Um, so your presentation captured the essence of the desert in some ways. You talked about historically how the idea of silence or the tones and the textures that come along with desert life and
Correct.
desert views. Um, and I was just wondering that how does one kind of translate this intangible idea of the desert, and how does one translate that natural aspect into the interior spaces?
Yes, so we can actually translate the desert into interiors by focusing more on its atmosphere rather than copying it literally. We can use soft and earthy palettes, textured natural materials, and using gentle light and open spaces to evoke calm. The aim is to bring the feeling of the desert indoors, quite warm, grounding, so the space carries some poetry and stillness. We just cannot copy completely from the desert, but yeah, we can use some elements from the desert which makes us feel, yeah, the calmness and the quietness of the desert.
All right. So it is a very intangible thing, and it's something which, different people may experience in different ways
Correct.
as well. And that's something that is also very personal, something that maybe, the designer and the client would arrive at together through conversation, through, experimentation and evaluation of what does the client feel when they're in that space, or what is it that it reminds them of, and somewhere also matching the views of the space, whether it's a tree from the desert or whether it's the actual sand and desert that they see, and how one's view from a window can be matched to what they see in the room through which they're going to look at that. So I think there's so many ways, and it's very personal as a journey for the designer as well as the client.
Yes.
So that's a wonderful thought of how this can be possible and how this could be done. Um, all right. So now that we've gone through some of these, complex and intangible ideas, my next question is about something that's a little more tangible. Um, Material choices. Materials play a huge role in minimalism, right? And what materials we make these interiors out of, what materials we kind of use to finish these different surfaces, um, both in the interior and on the exteriors of the space. How does one balance the sustainability or the performance of these materials, in terms of energy efficiency, like you mentioned, or keeping the heat out, or things like that from a technical point of view? How does one balance these sustainability ideas of these principles, the performance, and of course the beauty as well, when one is selecting materials for these kind of desert environments?
Correct. So we can actually balance them by choosing materials that are both honest and enduring. We can prioritize locally available stones, clay, wood, and natural fibers because they age. They age well. It requires less maintenance and reduce environmental impact. So the performance is endured by selecting finishes that handle the heat and dryness, while timeless beauty comes from texture and tones that feels natural to the landscape. So by using all these materials, we can actually balance the entire palette and make it into a minimalist design. And the result is material that are sustainable, durable, and quietly elegant.
So it's a combination. It's a hybrid kind of a solution or a hybrid strategy. It's no one thing that can make this possible.
We can actually use local materials which are easily available, and actually that also enhances the walls, like using a natural stone in the wall. It gives a very elegant texture and look. So all that thing, choices of material is very important while selecting, and if we choose well, then the rest goes off wonderfully.
Wonderful. Very well put. I think that kind of answers the question very succinctly and on point. So, my next question now, moving away from materials, is about comfort and well being. And we know that these spaces, of course, we already talked about this, where the mood or how one is feeling can be affected by the kind of space that we create. And when we're talking about minimalist design, very often, we focus on the aesthetic aspect and
Exactly.
the comfort and well-being parts of how the person is feeling in that space can be overlooked. So, how do you ensure that your spaces remain human, they remain warm and livable, and they don't feel too empty or cold or cut off from the human aspects of a living space? um, so that's the question. How do you make sure that it's not just a visually calm space, but also there is a human element in the space and in the interiors as well?
So we can ensure warmth and livability by focusing on how a space feels, not just how it looks. By using soft textures, natural materials, layered lighting, and thoughtful spatial flow, create a good comfort. We can even add pieces that invite use, seating that embraces the body, fabrics that feel gentle, and the details that encourage slow living. The result is minimalism that is calm yet deeply human. So we can use all these textures, we can use all these lightings to make us feel comfort, and yet gives the uh, yet keep the elegance in the entire space.
Wonderful. So I think definitely these ideas of texture, things that one is going to touch, things that one is going to feel when one is actually using the space, from furniture or maybe even the light switches, or things that you're actually going to interact with, are key to how one is actually going to communicate with the space and how one integrates with the actual mood that the space is creating. And it kind of really makes a difference about how that feels human and not some kind of a cold, distant space. So I think with these two aspects, it would be really nicely, possible for this to actually come together and for this to nicely create a minimal space, which is visually calm and also very livable and human.
Right.
Wonderful. So that brings me to the end of my questions. One last question I'd just like to ask for all of the younger audience is, could you send us a message to all of the younger architects and the younger designers out there who are starting out as to what they should think about when they begin their designs, and how they can integrate minimalism in their work based on your experience, based on the things you've learned, you've designed and developed? One message that you'd like to send out to all of our younger audience?
So we actually need to focus on simplicity rather than making it more, adding into more of elements, because the next coming years is only simplicity. People are looking out for more simple designs, yet adding more luxury to it without even adding without adding hundred of elements in the design. We can make it look more luxury by keeping it simple, adding tones, textures on the wall, adding soft lighting, and using materials which are actually beneficial for the atmosphere and for the clients as well. So we should actually concentrate on designing minimal and keeping it less. Like I said, less is more.
All right, wonderful. I think that puts it all together very well. Superb. So, thank you very much for joining us. I'm just going to check very quickly if we have any audience questions from the audience with us. So, let's just give a minute for the audience to ask any of the questions that they want to ask us. All right, so we do have a question. The question is: minimalism often means doing more with less. How do you handle clients who equate value with quantity or visual richness?
So if we have a client who values quantity, we try to convince them with our mood board, with our design, that adding too much of elements, adding too much of designs will not help make it look more rich. We show them the we for that we need to create a good mood board. We need to give a good presentation and try to justify our answer, try to justify what we are giving them. So I'm sure many of my clients have convinced by using less designs and making it more luxury. So we can actually try to create a good mood board, a good presentation which actually reflects our thought, that what we want to offer them and what their actually entire house will look like, even spending good amount but using a less element of furnitures and designs in the entire area.
Right. I think that puts it quite clearly. It's ultimately up to us to make them change their minds. It's
Exactly.
up to us to educate them, and it's part of our role to
Because
educate our
client, yeah,
clients.
because client actually doesn't know, they just check out all the images and everything, and they just tell us if we want. So it is our duty to guide them and to show them what exactly will look nice and what will not look nice. So that is our duty to guide them and try to convince them by showing our expertise in that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So wonderful. I think that really answers the question well. We just check if you have any more questions from the audience. All right. So hopefully, I think we will have more questions coming up over the next week as this episode is aired, and more and more people watch this video, watch this episode. We will be able to see some more questions coming in from the audience. In the meantime, I think we'll wrap up for today.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of
Thank you so
Designing
much
for
for
the
inviting
Desert.
me.
A huge thank you to our guest for sharing such thoughtful perspectives on how minimalism isn't about less design, but about designing with intention and removing away the excess to reveal what truly matters. What stood out today is how minimalism, when applied with sensitivity, can be deeply human, creating calm, comfort, and clarity even in the most complex of urban contexts like Dubai. To
Correct.
everyone tuning in, I hope this conversation sparks a reflection on how simplicity can be the highest form of sophistication, especially in how we design for our climate and communities. We'll be back next Sunday at 2 p.m. Dubai time with another inspiring voice shaping the future of sustainable design in arid regions. Until then, stay curious, stay climate conscious, and keep designing with purpose. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Bye.